welcome everybody. Josh, do you want me to just refresh the page? Sure. So Josh here is our technical guru, and he's making sure that everything is working as we are live and here to answer your questions. And I guess the point of Josh kind of scheduling this time is so that I can answer any questions that you guys out there in Facebook land might have for me or for the company, just pest control questions in general. We have a whole list of questions that people have asked us in the past. Look, that's me. That's kind of weird because I can see me and see other stuff in there. Sweet. Alright, there we are. So, as Josh is getting us up and running here, and people are joining us, send any questions that you might have for Walker Pest Management, for me, for just pest control companies in general, things that maybe you've come across in the past, those kinds of things. I'll do the best I can to answer them. Sometimes there are people out there that are smarter than me. So, if that is the case, I'll have to get back to you maybe on some of those questions. We can send you a message. So some of the questions that people have asked us in the past, Josh has a whole list of them here. I haven't really had an opportunity to read over these or rehearse any of this, and so obviously when we go live, it's kind of flying by the seat of your pants, and hopefully I know enough not to look completely dumb. But I manage to make myself look pretty dumb a lot of times anyway, I suppose. So the first question here that I have, that Josh has given me is, somebody asked, why should I have a pest control company instead of doing my own service? So my answer to that would be, you can do your own service. I don't typically discourage people from that depending on what their goal is. So a better question would be, is what is your goal? So if you have like some kind of crazy infestation, maybe it's German cockroaches, or especially if it's a wood-destroying organism like termites, you probably want a professional to come in, because if it's a wood-destroying organism and you don't do the job the way that it really needs to be done, of course, then that problem is going to continue and perpetuate. The damage can become worse and worse as the days and weeks and months go by. You know, and not necessarily, maybe somebody does something where they burn the whole house down and it solves the problem. I don't know, but typically that is not a do-it-yourself project, and you really need to have someone experienced and knowledgeable how to take care of the termites. But also there's a lot of state regulation on termite control that we have to follow. You have to follow the label. The label is the law in South Carolina, meaning whatever that pesticide label says, you have to follow. You should be following that as a homeowner. So anytime someone asks us for a recommendation or those kinds of things, and maybe we try to give some sort of guidance on an over-the-counter product that might help them and might work, I immediately am going to tell them, make sure you read the label. Follow the label instructions. So if you go to one of these buy your own pesticide kind of stores, there's a couple of those here in the upstate area that are super popular, advertise all the time, you know, that, you know, you can save up to 80% or something like that of the cost by doing it yourself, and they're big advocates for that. The problem is, I haven't been in those stores, but I doubt that they are actually reading through the label with all of those customers and making sure that those customers understand what the label instructions actually say. What are the mixing instructions? Because there's a lot of different rates that you can apply that on, you know, for different problems. So different pests actually have different rates recommended on the label, etc., etc. So I know I'm getting off in the weeds here, but it's not always a bad idea to go to Lowe's and get a bottle of Spectracide, because you've got some spider webs hanging around your house and your goal is just to get rid of a few spiders. That's fine, no big deal. Go shoot some Spectracide on that spider web and then clean it off with a little broom or a dust mop, and you can probably accomplish your goals without spending a whole lot of money. But if your goal is, I don't want to do the work myself, I pay a guy. This is the first year I've done it, but I finally broke down and I'm paying a guy to mow my lawn. I love mowing my lawn, but I don't have time for that anymore. So my goal is to save time. Therefore, I'm going to hire a lawn service. I have a fantastic Toro grandstand lawnmower, 60-inch deck. It's amazing. That mower was a very expensive mower. I have the right tools, the right equipment. I even have the knowledge, but I don't have the time. So if your goal is to save time, maybe you want to hire a pest control company to take care of those spider webs and come out on a regular basis. Usually every 90 days is enough to accomplish that. But when it comes to those bigger infestations, German cockroaches are not easy to get rid of by yourself. You really have to understand what products to use and how to apply them, how often they should be reapplied, etc. Termites, we already talked about that. There's a lot of other things, mosquito control, etc., etc. You know, if you're treating for mosquitoes, you know, are you applying pesticides in a responsible manner so that we're not also killing off a bunch of pollinators, for instance? So you can do mosquito control and cause a lot of damage to pollinators if you're not being careful where and how you're applying those pesticides, when you're applying those pesticides, etc., etc., etc. And the list goes on for tons of scenarios where it probably wouldn't be good to do it yourself unless you really have a good knowledge base. So back to the question of why should I hire a pest control company instead of doing my own service. Like I say, depends on the goals that you want to accomplish, depends on how simple or complicated the situation is. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we as pest control companies get paid for the knowledge that we have, and it's not because we have some super strong chemical or you know, magic wand that we carry that does a job better than you can do yourself. It's really the knowledge, the education, the ongoing training that we go through again and again and again. Every month we have a different speaker coming in to speak to the technicians here at our office. This last month we had Larry Stretz from Syngenta, which is one of the manufacturers, come and talk to all of our guys about carpenter bees, carpenter bee habits, biology, control methods, things like that. So on that note, you know, everybody sees carpenter bees here in the spring, but they're actually going to be out flying around the entire summer, and it's a good idea to actually have a follow-up treatment then in the fall to treat any open carpenter bee holes, and then go ahead and seal those holes. You can seal it with a caulk, a wood putty or other harder material might be better to fill those holes with, though. And just from an aesthetic standpoint, sometimes caulk can shrink. So caulk isn't bad, and we certainly have used caulk many, many, many times ourselves. But if you are doing that yourself, there again, you may want to use some sort of wood putty or harder material to fill that. But a lot of people overlook that again and don't realize that fall is a good time to come back, retreat those carpenter bees again, so that you have a very smaller chance, I should say, maybe, of some kind of crazy reemergence the following spring. So springtime, yes, let's treat those holes as those carpenter bees are coming out, as those larvae are pupating and coming out as adult carpenter bees. It's a good time to treat, but leave those holes open then, and let's look at coming back again in the fall to do a second application. So that's really the best treatment there. So again, just one example of how Larry Stretz, one of our manufacturer reps, is coming and doing classes with all of our technicians, educating them, giving them that knowledge so that then we can pass that knowledge on to our customers. So tons of reasons why you might want to hire a pest control company instead of doing it yourself. But that's not always necessarily a big deal. How are we doing so far?
Doing good. No questions
All
yet.
right.
So.
Good. And how long are we going for, Josh?
We figured 15 minutes this first
Okay,
time.
good
so
deal.
We'll go to 2:15.
All right, so I've still got about 5 minutes here. I apologize, I probably talked too long. But second question I have on here, Is our service safe for pets and family members? Great question. This is one of those questions that can kind of trip people up, because what do we mean by safe? So there are a lot of green products, organic products, botanicals, things like that kill bugs, and by definition, if it's going to kill an insect just because it was a natural substance, does not mean that it's safe. All right, because by definition, it is killing a living organism. So there's something toxic there, and a lot of people get hung up on green products versus man-made or synthesized products and things like that. So the short answer is, when they are applied properly and correctly, again, we talk about those label instructions, and I'll come back to that in a second, but when they are applied correctly, properly, in the right places, the right volume, the right percentage of active ingredient, etc., so you're not overdosing and mixing it too strong, stronger than the label recommends, etc., etc., yes, they're perfectly safe. And I will compare those to household cleaning products. And I know, again, we can talk about, well, I use water and vinegar, which is great. Water and vinegar isn't going to hurt much of anything. But even water, when it's ingested, people, there have been many, many cases of people dying from water poisoning. So again, what is safe, what is toxic? I think we would all agree that water is a pretty safe product, but when abused, it can be very harmful to your body. There's several of our products that have an LD50 number. I won't go into that too much, but it's basically a guideline that tells us the strength of the toxicity. I'll use that for a lack of a better word. And things like caffeine and table salt actually have a higher or a more toxic LD50 number, if you will. And again, I don't want some entomologist or pest control guru coming on here and trying to give me corrections in the verbiage I'm using, but I'm just trying to kind of put it in as basic layman terms as I can. So that being said, if I want to use 409 to clean my bathroom countertops and things like that, is that a harmful product? No, not when it's applied properly, but I'm not going to take a bottle of 409 and start doing shots with it either. It's probably not recommended. All right, I'm not going to find that on the label of 409. And that would be the case with most of the pesticides we use as well. There are a few pesticides that we use in extreme circumstances, very few and far between, usually in commercial applications like fumigants, for instance, that are restricted use pesticide, where we have to essentially block off the area, put locks on all of the entrances, etc., etc., and make sure that nobody enters, put up placards and all kinds of crazy stuff. You can't enter without the right gear on. But that's not the typical homeowner scenario. So yeah, when we're coming in and just doing a crack and crevice treatment for, again, spiders, ants, crickets, millipedes, centipedes, things like that, no, we're not using some juiced up acid that's going to, make your skin peel off or those kinds of things. We do recommend leaving it alone until it has a chance to dry, and those kinds of things, so, we're not, fan spraying it across, your kids' playroom so that they can roll around and bathe in it, and those kinds of things. So again, everything should be used according to label directions. The label is the law, like we said. Every word on that label has been reviewed and approved by the EPA, even down to the punctuation marks in it. And that's why it's important that people understand that they should be reading and abiding by those label recommendations. So hopefully that answers that question of whether products are safe for their pets and for their families, for little ones, et cetera, et cetera. Also, hopefully, whatever technician is coming into your home, whether it's with our company or another company, hopefully they're being mindful of the pets and the kids and the things like that are in your home, and not, spraying pesticide, for instance, where your pet's water dish is at, things like that. You just want to be mindful of that, and that's just part of being a professional company and providing a professional service. So, Josh, it looks like we're out of time. If there aren't any new questions, we'll stop with that, and the next time I can pick up with a couple more of these that we have, just a lot of the common questions people have asked over the years, and if you guys have more questions, obviously feel free to email us through the website, walkerpestmanagement.com. You can always send us a message through Facebook, through Instagram, tons of ways to get a hold of us. Our main office line, 864-603-1404, also has the ability, you can text that number as well as call that number. We have chat on the website, all kinds of things. So communication with our office should not be an issue, let's hope. And if it is, please let us know that it is. So me and Josh and Lucas and Tara and everybody here can take the right steps to make sure that you're taken care of. And that's it, I guess, right, guys?
Yep.
So,
I want to thank the people who did stop by and watch today. We will be doing this every week at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. So this will be a weekly episode that we're going to do for the short time being, and we'll see how it goes. So.
All right. Actually, so the first week in June, I will be gone.
Vacation.
So
yep. We'll bypass that one.
Yeah, we're going to bypass the first week in June, but should be able to do this next week and then try to pick it up each Wednesday thereafter. So, guys, thank you so much for everything.
Maybe we can talk Lucas into filling in for you.
Oh, I would love to get Lucas in here. Lucas is a bigger nerd than me on a lot of this stuff, so that's definitely a good idea. We'll see.
All right. Thank you, Arba.
Thank you, guys.